What's going on, fight fans? It's your host Sebastian, and welcome back to the Boxing Tip. Now, this fight has a date, and that's Manny Pacquiao versus Jeff Horn. Now, I know a lot of you guys are probably like, who the fuck is Jeff Horn, and why is Manny fighting him, or whatever it is else that you guys got to complain about. I'm not too sure, but me personally, I'm excited for this fight, and I'll tell you why. For one, I know who Jeff Horn is. For starters, I've watched him fight. I like the way that he fights. Now, everybody knows who Manny Pacquiao is, one of the greatest fighters of all time in my opinion, and definitely one of the best welterweights out there right now. So, I could arguably say that he is the best welterweight out there right now, but he's on his way out, so, once he's done fighting, there'll be the other welterweights left, and, boxing moves on. But I'm not mad at this fight, like I said, because I know who Jeff Horn is. I've watched him fight. I like the way that he fights. He's a pretty good boxer, in my opinion. The fight, in my opinion, makes sense also, being that Manny Pacquiao holds the WBO belt. The WBO rankings have Jeff Horn at number 2. Who's at number 1? Timothy Bradley. He beat Timothy Bradley last year, so they weren't going to make that fight. They weren't going to mandate that fight for him having a mandatory challenger, and Tim Bradley, he already beat him this last year, so they weren't going to make that fight happen. Now, they were talking about the Terrence Crawford fight. That seems to be the fight that everybody wants Manny Pacquiao to have, and seems to be the fight that everybody wants Terrence Crawford to pursue. Well, Terrence Crawford isn't really pursuing the fight as of right now, and I think there is something a little bit deeper in store when it comes to that fight happening. I'm pretty sure the Manny Pacquiao versus Jeff Horn fight is taking place in Australia, which is good. Jeff Horn is from Australia. Manny Pacquiao has no problem traveling. There has been talks from Bob Arum saying that this is Manny Pacquiao's the beginning of his world tour. So we're going to see how things play out, once this fight is done and over with. Assuming Pacquiao gets past Jeff Horn, which I favor him to beat Jeff Horn, obviously, but Jeff Horn is a live dog in there, in my opinion. So I know a lot of you guys are complaining about this fight, and I'll just say one thing. Go watch Jeff Horn's fights, get to know him a little bit better, and then just keep an open mind about the fight happening. Alright? Yes, Manny Pacquiao is older. He is an older guy. He's on his way out. He'll probably be out of the sport within the next year or so, maybe longer. Who knows? Depending on how his fights play out. I'm sure if he suffers another loss, that could be it, but maybe not. Manny Pacquiao losing doesn't really affect his forward momentum, so he continues to fight whether he loses or not, gets the L or not. So familiarize yourself with Jeff Horn, get to know him, and be excited about the fight. If you wanted the Terrence Crawford fight that badly and are disappointed that it didn't happen right away, well, you don't really have to point fingers as to why the fight didn't happen. It just didn't happen. Alright, at least it's not going to happen right now. I believe pretty firmly that the fight will happen. It's just not going to happen at this very moment. Alright, I'm not going to get into the specifics of why, because I don't know the whole truth on the subject. But there's been things being said like the top ranked matchmakers don't want that fight right now, and both fighters are promoted by Top Rank. Terrence Crawford doesn't seem to be pursuing the fight as much as he should be, if he wanted the fight right now. That's another thing that's being said about the whole situation. Regardless of what the situation is, or what it isn't, or what's been said or what hasn't been said, it doesn't really matter to me, because we're still going to get some fights. And that's all I really care about. Jeff Horn, he's done his work. He's moved up through the WBO rankings. He's number 2 for a reason. And since Tim Bradley has already been beat by Pacquiao just in the last year, I don't think it's necessary to have a 4th fight. So Jeff Horn may as well be the mandatory for the WBO belt. And given that Manny Pacquiao is a champion, he has to fulfill his champion obligations and give his mandatory challengers a title shot, because they've earned it. Maybe he could have unified with other titleists. Well, 2 of them are already booked for March, and that's Danny Garcia and Keith Thurman. And then there's Kell Brook. who seems to have other things going on. I'm not sure if they stripped Kell Brook or not, or if he vacated or anything like that. As far as my knowledge goes, he is still the champion, the IBF champion right now. Kell Brook has his own thing going on. You know, he's got a potential fight with Amir Khan. He's got a potential fight with Errol Spence Jr. or whatever he decides to do, whether it's move up in weight or fight whoever he wants to fight. So I don't really see being mad at this fight. I don't really see it being such a big deal to be mad about this fight. All right, trust me, I would have liked the Crawford fight as much as anybody else. And I'm sure everybody would have liked to have that fight. No one would have been mad at that fight. At least, I don't think they would have been. But why be mad at the Jeff Horn fight? I mean, if you don't know who he is and that's the only reason you're mad about the fight, then goddamn, how many boxers do you follow? Because if it's just a few, then you kind of just killed your reason to be mad about this fight. So I'm excited about it. I hope everyone gets excited about this fight, watches the fight. I hope no one counts out Jeff Horn as being some overly matched opponent. I don't think so. I think he has a solid chance. I think he has about a chance. He has as good a chance as any other top welterweight, in my opinion. Some more than others, obviously. But Jeff Horn, and from what I've seen, seems like a really skilled fighter, a really talented fighter. And he's got some crack. You know, he could crack. So that's good. You know, that just adds to the excitement to this fight. But if you're not satisfied with who Top Rank wanted Manny Pacquiao to fight, then there's nothing I can really tell you. You know, the more you stay mad about it, the more disappointed you're going to be, the less fights you're going to enjoy, or at least you're not going to enjoy this one. But if you truly like boxing, more than likely you're going to watch this fight any fucking way. So I don't really see complaining about it being like so bad. I mean, I don't see why you would complain about it if you probably know you're going to watch the fight. If they, you know, make it easily watchable, like an American televised event, or, you know, if it's not pay-per-view, if it's just regular HBO or something, or, you know, something along that lines, I'm sure you'll still watch the fight. So I wouldn't complain about it too much if you're gonna watch it anyway. But if you want to have an open mind about the fight, take your time, do some research on Jeff Horn, watch his fights, watch his highlights, his fights, anything that you can, you know, any bit of film that you can get of this guy, and just watch him. You know what I mean? See things that he does well, and see how he stacks against Manny Pacquiao, because we know how Manny Pacquiao fights. We've seen it a lot. Go ahead and do the same for Jeff Horn and see what he does well, and compare the two. Get excited about it. Fuck, even if you have to trick yourself into thinking that this fight is closer than it probably is gonna be. I mean, do that. Get yourself excited about it. You know what I mean? Too many unsatisfied fans for bad reasons. And just because you don't know who a fighter is, to me, that's a bad reason. Because you have every opportunity with YouTube, the internet, anything, every opportunity to get to know who more fighters are. You know, if you're watching boxing to just hang around in the mainstream portions of it and only follow those type of fighters, well, you know, that's good. You could do that. But when one of those mainstream fighters fights a good fighter that you don't know, don't get mad about it. Because if you don't know who he is, then, you know, you don't got a whole ton of reasons to be too mad about it, other than the fact that you don't know who he is. If you think this fight is a complete mismatch, then explain, make a video, comment, do whatever you have to do, and explain to me why this fight is a mismatch inside the ring, not on paper, inside the ring. So, you know, just do your research, get excited about it, and then let me know what you guys think. Comment, share your thoughts. Who do you think is going to win? What fight would you like to see next for Manny Pacquiao, assuming he wins, or Jeff Horn, assuming he wins? Also, share the video with your boxing homies. Subscribe to the channel. Introduce somebody to boxing. Introduce them to more than just your favorite fighters. Get them, you know, get them motivated to check out as many fighters as they possibly can. They'll have all the more reason to be excited about watching boxing. And I'll talk to you guys on the next one. Peace.